and welcome to Thinkspace Columns. Thinkspace is part of the Discovery module in a Logi application that allows you to enjoy a rich and highly interactive analysis experience. This video is intended for end users and will focus on Thinkspace columns. Column pills reflect data types in several ways. For example, in order to make it easy to identify data types, each pill is color-coded. Green pills represent a metric number. Blue pills are dimension text. Orange pills are temporal, representing a date or time. Which features are available to the data is dependent on the data type. For example, the default alignment of data in a column is left for text and date-time data, and right for numeric data. Dates use the short date format by default, and numbers include a thousands separator. You may want to hide certain columns in the data so that they're not displayed in the table. Click the ShowHide button to display the ShowHide Columns dialog box. You can sort the list of column entries in the dialog box or immediately filter the list by typing in the Filter by Name text box. Delete any text in this box to redisplay the entire list. In the dialog box, click one or more column entries to show or hide that column, and then click Apply. Click an entry a second time, followed by Apply, to toggle its visibility. The Restore button undoes any changes that were made. When you restore or unhide a column, it does not reappear in its previous place in the table. Instead, it appears at the far right-hand end of the columns, which may not be viewable without scrolling. You can click on the column and use the blue dot connector to move the column where you want it. In the example above, we're dragging the unit price column to a spot between the employee ID and quantity columns. We'll drop the column on one of the up arrow target icons that appear between the columns when you start dragging. Click the X icon to close the dialog box. You can also change the order of the columns in a data table. To move a column, click on its column pill and drag the blue dot connector out beneath the column pills. You'll see a Move Target icon appear between each column. Drop the blue dot on a target icon to move the column. Columns can be resized by dragging them to the desired width. This is very useful if you can't view all the data in the columns, as is the case here. Place your cursor in the space between the columns, to the right of the column you want to resize. A gray edge line and a special cursor will appear. Drag this line to the desired width and release it. You can drag them back in the same way. Thinkspace allows you to sort the data by a column in the table. To do this, click one of the two gray arrows in the column pill to sort the column in ascending or descending order. The arrow you clicked will darken, becoming an indicator of the sort order selected. Click it again to toggle the sorting on or off. When the data is grouped on a column, all the other columns are automatically aggregated to get a best fit summarization. To demonstrate, I will turn on grouping for the first column, Order ID. When this happens, each column pill will display the name of the aggregating function that was applied to it. For example, the group data in the right column was summed. The aggregation automatically applied varies depending on the type of data. However, you can change the aggregation function if desired by clicking on the function name. A drop-down list of the aggregation functions available for that data type will appear, and you can make a different selection. The data in the table will be updated immediately to reflect the change. Each column pill has a gear icon, and clicking it causes a menu to appear below the pill. The options available in the menu vary depending on the data type of the column and other factors. Some options can be enabled and disabled using the sliding Enable-Disable switch. Each of the options is described in detail in the following sections. You may want to add new columns to the data that are the result of calculations using existing data. A simple example would be multiplying quantity values by unit price values to obtain a total. Here's how you do it. You can create a calculated column in two ways. The first option is to click the Calculated Columns button, and the Calculation Definition panel will appear. The second option is to click New Calculation on a column's gear menu. Use this panel to create the expression that will produce your calculated data. Enter your choice for the new column name here. If you use the column's gear menu to get here, a new column name, such as Quantity Calculation, will be suggested. Create your expression here. You can use column names, functions, etc. from below by selecting them, and thus avoiding typos, but you'll need to enter basic math operators manually. Click this button to test your expression. A valid formula will produce a check success indicator. However, if you see the red invalid warning, hover your cursor over to see a tooltip describing the problem. You can click on various formula parts to insert them into your expression. Left and right arrows let you scroll through several categories of objects and functions. Click this to add the new calculated column to the data table. The sliding Enable-Disable switch can be used to turn formatting on and off. Click this to delete an existing calculated column. The expression editor has wizard-like features that help you reference functions, columns, etc. easily and to avoid errors. The expression syntax must conform to the SQL syntax rules for PostgreSQL. The functions shown in the calculation panel are not exhaustive. Other PostgreSQL functions may be used. For more detailed syntax information, refer to the PostgreSQL reference manual, linked in the notes to this video. When in doubt, you can always use the test button to validate your expression. Here's some more general information about Thinkspace expressions. Column references. All column name references must be enclosed in square brackets. If you select a column from the list, the editor will automatically add the square brackets to the column reference. If you're typing the formula incorrectly, typing a square bracket will cause the editor to show a list of valid column names for you to select from. Null values. By default, null values are considered when grouping on the column but ignored for any aggregations or charts. If you wish to have null values counted, they must be converted to a real value. For example, NA, 0, -1, or unknown in your expression. To represent null values as a real value, you could use if null column NA in your expression. The if null function can be found in the logical functions category. When the calculated column resulting from this expression is used, it will behave like other columns of the same data type and be included in grouping, aggregations, and charts. The Calculated Columns gear menu will include an Edit Calculation item. You can click the menu item to reopen the Calculation Definition panel and edit the calculation if needed. You may want to control the display format of the column data. Click Formatting on a column's gear menu, as shown here, and the menu option will expand to show formatting controls. The formatting options and controls that appear are dependent on the column data type. There are no formatting controls for text type columns, but the data is left justified by default. Numeric type columns represent the controls shown here, which allow generic formatting of numbers. However, if you'd like to apply customized formatting, you can select the Custom Display option. It provides an option to enter special formatting characters. For example, enter a $sign to prepend the number with a $sign, or a percentage to display it as a percentage. More information about specific formatting characters is available by clicking the question mark icon. Click Apply to reformat the column immediately. The sliding Enable-Disable switch can be used to turn formatting on and off. Thinkspace uses a proprietary data analysis technique to automatically group continuous data into various categories called bins. The key elements of the data binning process are the actual distribution of the data, ensuring a reasonable chart is generated, and producing a human-friendly distribution. You'll notice that data is already grouped and summarized when it's used in charts. However, you may want to customize the grouping parameters. For text-type data columns, you'll only be able to enable or disable grouping, using the sliding Enable-Disable switch. For other columns of other data types, here's how to customize grouping. Click Grouping on a column's gear menu, and the menu option will expand to show a panel with the grouping controls. The drop-down list allows you to select the grouping method to be used. The first option is automatic. When you select this, the best fit grouping model for the data will be applied automatically, using a default number of bins based on the key elements mentioned earlier. The next option is width of groups. For numeric data, this option allows you to define the width of your groups. The number you enter is always an approximate value, as the algorithm will try to create groups based on both the number of groups desired, the data distribution, and the precision of the data. So for example, if you want groups to be 4 values wide, but your data doesn't break up into that evenly, the result may stretch your group to include extra values. In the example above, a width of 4 was specified, but the last group includes 5 values. You can usually get better grouping accuracy by creating outlier groups, which hold values outside ranges you specify. Note that the grouped rows are retained, and you can view them by clicking the plus icon in the table. The next option is number of groups. This option allows you to specify an approximate number of groupings. This will be an approximate number because the Thinkspace may be required to create outliers or a number of groups that break the data into human-friendly endpoints. Here the approximate number of groups was set to 10. In reality, this only produced 9 data groupings. Note that the group rows are retained, and you can view them by clicking the plus icon in the table. The last option is no binning. This option disables the automatic binning feature and simply creates a group for each distinct data value. Note that the group rows are retained, and you can view them by clicking the plus icon in the table. Click Apply to group the data immediately. The sliding Enable Disable switch can be used to turn grouping on and off. The data used in your analysis can be filtered to remove unwanted data. This is done by setting filter criteria based on column values, resulting in rows matching the criteria being removed from the data. The data is hidden, not actually deleted. Filter configuration can be initiated by clicking the Filter button just above the data table. This panel will open as a drop zone for pills of columns to be filtered. Drag and drop a column pill into the zone to create a filter on that column. A configuration panel will appear with controls for configuring and managing the new filter. Configure your filter and click Apply. The filter will be created and the data table will immediately be filtered. Your new filter now appears in the Filters panel. As you create filters, they'll appear in both a list in the area just above the left-handed end of the data table and in the Filters panel, shown above right. To create additional filters, drag additional column pills into the Filters panel, and as shown here, drop them on the and or blocks. Filters can be rearranged, grouped, and combined using controls in the Filters panel. Filters can be removed by clicking their X icon. Filters can also be enabled or disabled en masse using the links at the top of the panel, or can all be removed at once using the Remove All icon. Number-type data table columns can include Incell Graphics to make it easier to understand values and compare them at a glance. To start, click Incell Graphics on a Number Columns gear menu, and the menu option will expand to show a panel of options. The bar and heat map options represent a baseline slider, which lets you specify a baseline value for the graphic. The icon option provides 3 graphic options: circle, square, and arrow. Icon values, which determine colors in arrow icon direction, are evenly distributed in percentage thirds, less than 33%, 33 to 66%, and greater than 66%. Click Apply to immediately display the graphics. The sliding Enable Disable switch can be used to turn Incell Graphics on and off. You can set another type of Incell graphic by coloring column cells based on data value thresholds. Click Colors on a column's gear menu. Using the Colors controls, select a comparison operator, enter a comparison value, and select a color. Click the color swatch to show more colors and the Show More link to show additional colors. You can also enter values directly as hex, RGB, or text values. Click the plus or minus icons to add or remove thresholds. Click Apply to immediately apply the thresholds. The resulting chart, with just one threshold defined, will look like this. Note that the column pill has a color threshold indicator displayed now. Thinkspace also lets you profile a data table column. A column profile displays statistics such as minimum, maximum, and average for numeric columns, and minimum and maximum for date-time columns. It can also help you identify problems in your data, such as invalid dates, like a maximum date that's in the future. To create a column profile, start with a clear Thinkspace and scroll down the Visualizations menu and select Custom Column Profile. Drag and drop a numeric column pill, like Fright, into the blue drop zone. The column profile will immediately be displayed. The profile for the Fright column includes minimum, maximum, average, and some statistics. The statistics for other columns will vary depending on the column data type. Replace the Fright column pill with the Order Date pill, and you will notice the differences between the two. We've come to the end of our time here. Thank you for joining us for this video on Thinkspace columns, and please have a great day.